Good afternoon, and welcome to another Thursday J. Lamar Thoughts and Tips for a Real Life Reset. Today is going to be a little different. It's going to be more of a personal conversation about a personal story and journey. We are in the Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are definitely approaching closely to entering men's health awareness. And today, I want to talk a little about my own personal journey as it relates to mental health, as well as depression and also anxiety. I'm not speaking to you as a clinical professional. I'm speaking to you as a client, someone who deals with this here, who navigates this process on a daily basis, and also talk to you about what does that person look like? That person who's dealing with mental health, that person who's dealing with depression, that person who's dealing with anxiety. What does that person look like? Where did it begin for me? It was in my military duty journey where I was assigned a particular task to travel to some part of California, Sacramento, California, for a recruiting mission. And during that time, we were all scheduled to make a flight to go fly out, and I was one of the last to do so. And I was too afraid of my reason for not being able to do so, but due to this, I was able to share some information about myself that I didn't know that it was an illness, and that was that I was suffering from anxiety. I did not want to get on a plane after flying on a plane on numerous times, being in the military, to include my deployment to Saudi Arabia for a comeback moment in my life. And at that moment there, I realized that there was an issue far bigger than I thought it was, and immediately I was directed to go see a therapist and get some assistance as it relates to what was considered a mental health condition. And in doing so, I also realized there was other undisclosed things that were going on, such as depression. To what level, what degree, but it exists. And this is why I want to talk to you all about, especially in my community. When I say my community, the African American community is something that really that is downplayed a lot. In terms of mental health, getting counseling, and seeking therapy. I'm here to tell you, I don't look like that guy who would probably have to deal with that on a regular basis, but I am that gentleman who does wear that mask. And what that simply means, you constantly have to disguise yourself. In other words, not make yourself look so vulnerable when it comes to this particular condition. I don't suffer from severe depression, but I do suffer to some degree. And I think one of the ways I help myself best navigate through this process is, first of all, through prayer, through being in the right environment, being associated with certain people, having daily conversations with myself. I try to minimize medical assistance as much as I possibly can, but I know sometimes it's needed. Especially when it comes to my level of anxiety. My level of anxiety was definitely triggered on my return back here to Miami because I had been away so long and I wasn't as familiar with the demographics here, the map, the layout of this county. So I found myself being in unfamiliar places, and one of the things that I suffer severely from when it comes to anxiety is being in unfamiliar places and not knowing what the exit points are. And so I was very limited in terms of my lifestyle, and still is so to some degree because of that level of anxiety. That means there are certain places I don't travel. There are certain places I don't attend, certain events I don't attend. And even when I do attend events, in that moment, I would do what they call an advanced party. I always go out and check and see what that environment looks like before I go out there and become a part of it, make sure it's going to be a safe place. It would be a place that it would not trigger my anxiety. There was for many years in my return back to Miami, I did not go to the Orange Bowl because it was an unfamiliar territory, and I knew it would always be crowded when I got there, and I knew I wanted to be able to navigate, and it would immediately cause me to feel a discomfort because of the anxiety piece, and there are so many things that triggers that. So how do I manage it? One of the things I do, I seek therapy, and I say this to you all because a lot of us, especially as gentlemen, we don't want to do that. What seems to be a means of stereotype. Well, you seeking therapy, that it's a sign of weakness. But I'm here to tell you it's necessary because this stuff can roll over to your family life, your everyday living, have a major impact on it and how you deal and associate yourself with people, and how this condition can manage you versus you managing it. My objective every day is to get ahead of it and manage it before it managed me, because it is a form of behavior for me. And if your behavior takes over you, that means you're no longer in control of yourself. So this is a behavior issue for me in my terms. Now, I'm not speaking as a clinical profession. I'm just telling you what I'm dealing with, and what I've dealt with, and what I'm having to navigate through on a daily basis because of these conditions. So I just want to say to those of you, especially you gentlemen, who have this persona where I don't want to use the word tough guy, but everybody comes to you. You're like that. How do I say? You're that hub for resources. Everybody comes to you about everything. Life is pulling on you. You're trying to provide. You're trying to, do the things, trying to be the best person you can to everybody. And sometimes you tend to leave yourself out. And there's been times when I found slight depression falling in my area. And one thing I learned when watching a interview on the Gentleman Superman after his incident that caused him to be paralyzed, they asked, well, what do you do when you feel depression coming on you? And he immediately said, I charge. And I can remember in that moment sitting in a place in my life and not certain on the next step, the next move. And in that moment, I thought about what he said. And one of the things I did, I immediately dressed myself up. I got myself together. I looked in the mirror and looked at a person that I was proud of. And I walked out in the world with the confidence that I felt would be necessary to accomplish whatever that particular assignment or task was that day. But prior to that moment, I was really in a slump. So I share this with y'all, and these are not stories that's made up. These are really stories that I've lived, and I'm being very vulnerable because I don't have anything that's taken over me in terms of those medical conditions, but they are part of my life, and I have to recognize those things. And definitely being a mentor, dealing with the younger generation, the next up, I guess I would say, the next generation of leaders, life shakers and movers, I often have to put on this persona where, mentally I do have it all together, but a lot of times I talk to people, I often tell them I'm talking to myself. Just because people look right, that doesn't mean that everything in them is going all right. Yeah, so it is so critically important to not to examine the people you're around, because I don't think a lot of us are qualified to do that, but don't assume they don't need to be encouraged by a word of or an action or a behavior from you, because you just never know what's dealing with the person and how they're dealing with it. So today I just wanted to come on here and talk to you all about this, especially in the African-American males population in that community, how these things, especially depression, it has a major impact on our household, how we carry and conduct ourselves as it relates to our community, the people we come in contact with. And I've come to the conclusion that it does have an impact on my ability to communicate effectively to other folks. And I never thought that's what it was, but it did. And it causes me at times to get very emotional, and never knew that was one of the reasons why I was always emotional, especially when I'm doing public speaking. I find myself getting very emotional, uncontrollable, and it does connect. The two does connect. So I just encourage everybody out there, especially my male colleagues and friends and associates and community members, if you feel this type of discomfort, I strongly encourage you to reach out for some type of assistance, some type of guidance. Make sure you're a part of an organization that gives you the confidence and the clarity you need as a gentleman. We're all constantly looking for affirmation, and some of us don't, but it's not something strange to seek some type of affirmation that you are who you say. People telling you you are who you say who you think you are. Versus listen to those who tell you who you are, that you're not that person. So I'm very intentional about who I hang out with. That goes back to what I call the AAA plus. I make sure my attitude is always in alignment with what my desires are, my goals, and my objectives are. I try to make sure I stay in control of that because I know the attitude is something small, but it's big in everything you do. And I try to keep myself educated on certain things to better navigate in the absence of therapy, just somebody else's assistance. And some of my near friends and dear friends know exactly what I suffer with when it comes to anxiety and I guess I would say some form of depression, but some of them don't know to what degree. And then the other one is I make sure I understand the academics as it relates to my situation. Everybody's situation is different, but I make sure that I enlighten myself. I keep myself updated on information that feeds into me, give me that what I need to stay strong through those times. And also my association. And my association has a lot. I try to make sure I'm around positive people because it is so easy for this to trigger you. And I try to guard myself. I try to put people around me that protects me. I try to protect my mind from certain things. And, that is so critically important when you walk and ride, I say existing and having this hidden condition that nobody thinks that you're dealing with. And then when they hear about it one day, it's like they're total surprise. No way he can be dealing with it. Well, actually, yes, I do. I do suffer from anxiety. I really do. And I have dealt with some form of depression. It's not something that I go out and tell the world. But however, what I've learned to do is redefine it as it relates to me. What does that simply mean? I try to reverse or try to see things a little different than what it does to me versus what it doesn't to me in the moment. And I learned to just try to navigate in those moments when those things are triggered. Depends on where I am because there are so many things that trigger that condition for me. And I've missed out on a lot of things, not much of a travel because of that. So it does alter my life and it could alter your life. But more importantly, when it comes to these conditions, just make sure that, you're doing stuff to keep you mentally stable to where it does not roll over and affect somebody else's life. I think that is so critically important because sometimes these things here can take control of you. I don't look at it as being a demon, but however, like I said, I'm not a clinical professional. I'm just telling you as a person who navigates through this every single day. I give you all a good example when that moment when we couldn't go outside because of the pandemic. I had to protect my mind from certain news because in that moment, it would have been catastrophic for me to allow the wrong things in my ears. So I did not listen to a lot of news. There are certain things and certain people I did not go around because I had to do what was necessary to protect me from the conditions that I had no control over, but I could control where I was at every moment during that period. And I did everything I can or could do to make sure I was guarding my mind, I was guarding my ears, so I can guard my control over my actions due to my direct correlation with this mental health thing. So in this mental health month, for those of you out there, I tell you, first of all, seek a higher being. Get to know what you need to know to protect yourself. Seek assistance. I do sit in on therapies. I have, and I will continue to do so. I strongly encourage you to take this serious because I think it could worsen. I don't know. For me, I've been able to control it to some degree. I have not mastered it, but I'm better dealing with it and navigating through certain situations that has triggered it over the years, but I can honestly say over several months, maybe a few years, I have gotten better. There's, like I said, there's a lot of places I did not visit or go because of my lack of control, and where most folks didn't see why that was such a big deal. It was a big deal for me because, and and I don't know where it came from. I've been told maybe it was something that could have, maybe something triggered back from my childhood. I do recall a couple incidents from my childhood that could have I can think of anything. So, but I think it had a lot to do with my time in service in the military. And this is not a plea for anything, but I'm glad they asked me to go on that trip because I would have never known that I was dealing with what I was dealing with, and it was dealing with me, because it had really created a limitation in my life, because the things that I was once able to do, I was no longer able to do those things. So being able to enjoy family, friends, and attend certain events, take certain vacation, that became something that was very limited. So again, as we approach Men's Health Awareness Month, I encourage every gentleman not only to take care of yourself from a mentally standpoint, but learn how to take care of yourself from a physically standpoint as well. Get busy, exercise, get involved. Get involved with, have an active lifestyle, go to the gym, work out. These are the things that can definitely assist you in becoming the best version of yourself. Watching what you eat. I just do what I do for Mr. Hawkins. I can't speak for everybody else, but I think I know what works for my body. And, when we make these New Year resolutions, I just strongly encourage you to just kind of think about just whatever you're going to do, write a game plan, and try your best to stick to that game plan. And one of the things I can tell you, eating different for me has really helped me mentally, physically, and emotionally. It has really helped me establish a better quality of life. So I just want to tell each and every one of you, I wish you the best as you navigate and figure out the best way for you to navigate with whatever conditions you're dealing with, but don't feel like you have to go through it alone. Before you go out there and make a decision on your own, please seek some form of assistance, some form of help. Let people know what's going on with you. This world is better because of you being here. It's not better because without you. We need each and every one of you males out there that's listening to this to be here, because someone has to be responsible for raising that next generation of leaders, young men, to run homes, to be in charge, to take care of our community. So we need you here. So whatever you're dealing with, go to someone, get in an organization, get in a group, and be the best person you can be. And truly, I was in my conversations with this here. We do have the power of our path based on the choices we make. So choose the day to do what's right for you, so you can be right for yourself and right for everybody you're around. Because when you're not good to yourself, you're actually no good to anyone else. And we need you to be your best. So thank you, and God bless.